This is a competition night. What we have going on for the rest of the month, we have two things. Carol's going to be following up on her first of the year presentation with another presentation next Thursday, the third Thursday. Sunday, the 9th, is our NAPfS APPA competition. Which I'm busy for. There's already 65 images entered in that competition. And I know we've got probably 8 more to go in. And APPA has that many, maybe 24 more to go in. The competition will actually start, the judges, they'll turn the first image at 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Austin Beer Works opens at 11, so you have plenty of time to show up. We're in the barrel room. There'll be somebody there you probably recognize to point you in the right direction. Verlin, you got anything for us?
All right, so if you're following the website, the submissions for the Jester Show, we need lots of them, and we need those, pretty much by the 15th. So start submitting images. If you remember from last time, they like big images, and all the rules are on the website. But get your images in so we can start looking at those and decide who's going up in January. Okay.
Patrick, you're covered until next year. So I think we're ready to go with competition. We're going to do a little extra tonight. After we finish with the competition the way it normally runs, we're going to take some time and discuss our competition process, the judging, the people's choice. Cody, it's all your show.
All right, let's do it. Take it away. All right. So we'll do a quick scan through the images. Okay, so we have 3 images in basic. So we'll start by just running through. First image is bringing out the spirits. Go back. Next we have dancing lights in green. And then we have emergent flower. Too much.
Not all of them, just, okay. There we go, that's better. They want to see our smiling faces.
Yeah.
Let's do.
Maybe a little bit more fancy with him. Title slides. I know. Drop shadows. It's very chill.
I think we'll just do this again. Okay, so first up we have bringing out the spirits.
All right, I'll talk a little bit about that one. I think that the use of the green lights, behind everything, with the orange jack-o'-lantern and the yellow in the eyes, work well together because they're all analogous colors. It's nice that you have the orange and yellow as sort of accents to all of that green, and I think that works well together. I think that all of these different items go together well for a Halloween theme of this image. There's one pumpkin down here on this side that isn't really lit, and I think that makes that side look a little bit darker, and so it's a little bit unbalanced, it feels like, because of that. But in general, it's a very nice holiday-themed image. I think that something else that could be done with this in the future is if you cropped it to an 8x10, a little bit smaller, and took away some of the green. I mean, of course, we want all the light for the light painting today, but if you cut that to an 8x10 and you're making a calendar for your family, this would be a good one for October, because I think it's that you could crop that out and have it more focused on on the items, and that'll be another way to use this image. And I think that will work really well for all of that. So, thank you.
Everybody hear the judges?
I can hear that I think I can hear it in the room. Do you guys not hear it well? I can talk to you more.
You guys way back to Dylan, can you hear?
Okay,
Okay.
all good?
I'm hearing Cody.
No, I think that I can hear that my own voice. That's a little too high.
That's locked.
Okay. All right, next we have dancing lights in green.
All right, I've got that one, and I like the blue and green lights. Like the blue and green lights mixed together. You cannot?
She says she can't hear.
No. I've got the thing right here. I'll just
I
hold
think
it.
she's going back to the speaker.
See if you can
I think we just don't have a
clip it
speaker
so
up
it
here.
points up.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Lydia, try this.
That's huge. Better? Can you guys hear me?
Right up here.
Right here?
Yeah.
Is that better?
I can hear you. Arlie, can you hear? Just.
Can you hear me with the bigger one? Okay, I'll use this one then.
Conference call voice.
Conference call voice. So we like the blue and green light. I liked the blackness of the background. It's very clean and very dark, so it's nice contrast. Like the motion of the woman walking through the photo, because it creates a kind of a stillness inside a very vivid light pattern. The suggestions on this one would be to possibly get her more in focus. She's very soft in the image, and so don't know if that was intended or not, but it leads to a question of was it intended? And then the second thing that we noticed was, and again, this may be what the person intended, but whether she's walking into the photo or out of the photo, like into the frame or walking out of the frame, it kind of makes you question where is she going, and you wish she knew. So that would be an idea to consider, but overall a very solid photo, and I think it's very cool.
Thank you. Next we have emergent flower.
Okay, by the luck of the draw, I ended up with another one here, and so I'm going to talk about this one. Okay, so I honestly don't know quite how this was done, but it's very effective. I think that the light painting feels very precise, and it really feels as if the light is contained within that vase, and as the title suggests, emerges through the top to make this kind of ghostly flower. The use of the colors, I think, are done well. The blue suggesting the water, the green for the stem, and the red for the rose on top. I think that's very effective. A couple things that show up here is you can see a little bit of the background on one side that in post probably could have just been darkened some so that that would not show up. And on different computers it might not show up very much, but that's something that could be done to help it a little bit, and it feels like it might be ever so slightly out of level. You could use some guides to see, but I felt like it was off by a degree or so. But overall, I thought that it was a very interesting picture, and I think that it's amazing, and I hope that whoever made this will tell us how they did it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's go to judge's choice. Okay, so we have 3 images in 3 places. So in third, we have clay with dancing lights in green.
So I just want to give a shout out to Josh Baker, who had us over to his studio. And this was one of the shots that I made while we were doing that. And I have to say, I took 20 or 5 or 30 shots, and this is the only one that really kind of came together, and it was the 3rd shot in the series. So the rest of the shots went downhill. But and I'm sorry, I don't remember if, I was trying all different sorts of things. How many of you who were at Josh Baker's studio? Oh, about a lot of people. That was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate he could do that.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Then in second, we have Austin Lane with Bringing Out the Spirits.
So October seemed like a pretty natural fit for doing something Halloween themed, and I went to a pumpkin patch with my wife and grabbed some pumpkins. We just like loaded up, and I filled the table with it. I felt Josh Baker's pain running around with the light behind it over and over, like every time reviewing it and trying to see, well, where did they go this time? Because it's so much guesswork trying to figure out how it's actually going to end up. There's a bunch of other stuff going on in here that I learned during it. Glow sticks don't show up at all. I waved a whole bunch around and they didn't make a mark on the photo. And like I barely got the dry ice smoke coming out over the table. Like I went through so much of that trying to get it to show up. Like it's really hard.
What did you end up using?
Yeah, I should have done a smoke.
What did you end up using?
For the light painting?
What is the light?
I have an LED bar with a handle on it that I could wave around. Yeah. I think it was like $30. It was not expensive.
Okay, cool. And then first we have Christopher Umstead with Emergent Flower. Here. I don't see him online either. Christopher? Nope, not here, so we'll have to catch him at the next meeting and find out.
Okay, darn.
All right, and then we'll go on.
I think that everyone that tried this can agree that I don't know, for me it was a challenge. It was new stuff, and I think it's pretty fun to try new things. And you were saying that you had a lot of, you tried it lots of times, and then you're trying to find out what works. And I think that's exciting thing about our club in particular, that you get sort of challenged with some of these other things, and you try it, and it might be that you're never going to do it again, like that, I'm never doing, that's too hard. Or you're like, wow, that's really cool, and then so.
Yeah, I agree. All right, people's choice.
But be careful, it can become costly. You find out some new thing that you like doing, and then you start buying new lenses to support it, and new focusing rails. I'm just telling you, be careful.
Lights.
All right, in bronze we have Clay, Dancing in Green. And then in silver we have Christopher Umstead with Emergent Flower. And the gold is Austin. All right, now on to intermediate. Okay, so we'll do the scan first. All right, so we have 4 images. So first is Crooked Vase. Next we have On the Prowl. Night Garden, and It Looks Fast Even Sitting Still. Okay. Go on to the critiques. So first up is Crooked Vase.
So this one's mine. So first thing is the title's great. It tells us the subject of the image, which is the vase. Bright, the light's fantastic. The colors are fantastic. There's a lot of detail in the refractions of the light coming through the vase. If you look around at the opening at the top, there's all kinds of interesting things happening. I especially think it's fun to see the feet of the vase pick up the pink on the left and right too. So lots of interesting things here. So I think there are some opportunities for more success here in this image. Primarily the crop. While we've got this great background, I mean, the painting with I'll assume LEDs, the painting of the light in the background is fantastic. There's all kinds of color and movement and shape, and that's wonderful. But the subject, the vase, it doesn't hold its own within the image. It seems diminutive compared to the size of the frame. I played with it a little bit, and I think if you cropped this to a vertical 8x10, kind of left some of the side off, then I think you get a stronger, cool set of colors on the left, a stronger, warm set of colors on the right, and I think you'd bring the focus to the vase, I think, more clearly, and I think you'd end up with a tighter composition overall, and still retain all those cool curves from the lights. So I think that there's a lot of great stuff here. I think very successful stuff. I think that I just feel like the crop could have helped make it just a little bit better.
Okay. Next we have On the Prowl.
I think that one's mine. All right, so love the storytelling of this image. You read the title and you look at the image and it completely makes sense. I love the expression on the girl's face and the way she has her hands. And kind of she very much fits what the image is conveying. Her costume kind of ties into the theme as well. And then the lights are very unique and very complex. You've got the thick lines, the thin lines. I like the way they kind of circle around her body and sort of make her the subject. And then you've got those thin lines more by her hands that sort of create a sense of motion by her hands, which is very cool too. We did like the clarity as well on it. The whole picture is very sharp and crisp, and the back is nice and dark on the edges, so there's really no distractions. We had a conversation about the color choices because they seem to compete with each other a little bit. You know, while the kind of the reddish, orange, yellow, blue, and green go together in theory, there's a lot going on in the background, and then the print of her costume has a lot going on to the point where they kind of compete with each other. And maybe the suggestion would be to tone down one or the other so you don't have so many things you're trying to look at simultaneously. She might have been more effective if she were dressed more in black or something. So the light was kind of the star and she complemented it as an example, just a suggestion. Other than that, we really didn't have any other critiques on the image, and we thought it was very well done.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Night Garden.
All right, this is a different kind of light painting than we've been seeing from all the others. And I think that, let's see here. So with this kind of light painting, you can light a space in an interesting way that you couldn't do with just regular lights and a flash or whatever. There are parts here that, like this T-shaped pattern in the trees, look like they're lit from below. And then there's the round plant in the round planter, and that's lit from all sides. And then the sidewalks almost look like they're glowing from within. So there's something when you look at it that you realize this isn't just like a street light shining on it, and it's not just a flash where you'd have harsh light coming from one direction. So I think it's an interesting way to handle a space like this, like the garden. The thing that may be a slight issue or something that could help elevate the picture in general is that it's not really clear what the subject is here. I mean, we've got a garden, but you've got 3 planters with plants, and then you've got this tree and that T structure in the back, and maybe if you could focus more towards one of those and make it the star of the show, that might help the overall composition of the picture. But the way it's done, I think, is very interesting, and it's a different kind of light painting than some of the other kinds we've seen, and so it looks like a good effort.
Okay, thank you. It looks fast, even sitting still.
Okay, so this one's mine. I'm going to assume this is a model car. Somebody may know somebody with a fancy car, and that's great, but I'll work with this being a model because we've got a reflection mirror on. So the immediate thing that hits one here is that the maker has done, I think, a very effective, very successful job in imparting a sense of motion using the light painting. So we've got the streaks of the blue coming out of the back of the car. You've got this orange conflagration going on the left side that implies that something has happened with a lot of energy and the car is moving away from that. Some of the details include, for example, the smoke or mist or whatever on the headlights over on the right-hand side, which I think is a really interesting thing. So the maker probably had a lot of fun doing this and putting all these pieces together in whatever way they did it. Lots of really great stuff here. The reflection's crisp. Everything is that needs to be in focus is in focus. There are, I think, for me, a couple of things that I find a little unsatisfactory. I don't feel like the image is level, and again, it's me in geometry. I can't quite work. There's not enough cues from my eye to work out the geometry of the surface and where the car is, and then where those blue streaks should be. So for me, it's a little unsettling, but that's a nit on my part. That's me. I would like to have seen. I think it would have been added a level of success in having some of those blue streaks in front of that rear bumper, not just behind the bumper, just so we got more going on there. But overall, the color scheme, I didn't mention color scheme. The color scheme's fantastic. The red and blue, or the orange and blue contrasting, complementary is very successful. Focus is crisp throughout, all the detail here. I would like to see finally a little bit more space on the right in front of the car. It is uncomfortably close to the edge of the frame for me. I could have used a little bit more margin all the way around, especially top and bottom and on the right. I think we could have gotten away with that, but I have nothing to work with, and I didn't take it into Photoshop and play with it, so I'm going. That's how I feel. I could be wrong. But overall, I think a really successful image. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. You did a very good job.
All right, so let's go to judge's choice. Okay, so we have 3 awards. First is Ed with Crooked Vase.
Okay, this was my first try, double exposure in camera. The first exposure was the background lights. The second exposure, I couldn't get enough light on the vase, so I actually light painted it with just a flashlight. And I was surprised at how well the in camera double exposure thing worked. So anyway.
Cool.
I hadn't even thought of multiple exposures. It's really smart.
Okay, in second, we have On the Prowl, me. That's my images. Me. Yeah, so...
Is that one
yeah,
of your kids?
Do what?
Is that one of your kids?
Yeah, that's one of my kids. Oh. Yeah, that's one of my kids. So I had fun. So it's Halloween, so I was like, oh, they're going to be dressed up. So I went and got a light whip from Josh's class, and that'll be fun. And we had a blast. So we just went out to a basketball court behind our house, nice and dark, set up a flash, and we just played around. And so they had fun, because I don't know this image, if it was me or my other daughter that was running around with the light whip, but they had a blast doing that. And then she's like really good at posing and stuff, so she just had fun. And she just wanted to wear, this is one of her dancing costumes. And we just tried I agree with you on the color. So this one, it's also like, every image you get is different. And so there's other ones where the colors fit, but it like covered up her face some, or it like the light wasn't. And I like this one because it kind of went around her, framed her face a little bit better, and the colors weren't quite right. But I was like, I thought it was the best one. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. So, and I agree, it was fun to get out and do something different. It was like, oh yeah, I would probably never have done that. And we did the class, and then you had the challenge, and I was like, yeah, I'll go play with it. So hopefully I'll do more. Okay, and then first we have Verlin with It Looks Fast Even Sitting Still.
Okay, it is level, because otherwise that car would have rolled off my kitchen counter. So this is about 20-second exposure, maybe 25. There is It's dark enough that if you just take a picture, it's black. That's 2 hits with a flashlight, 1001, 1001, and it's about that precise and that calibrated. Then it was come back through with a fiber optic light with that same flashlight that Josh was using at the light painting thing. There's a fire setting, and so I'm doing this fiber optic and I'm jiggling all the fiber optics underneath it to make all that orange fire-looking conflagration. Then a third pass with a Savage light wand, mostly covered up except for those front 2 LEDs, matched to the color of the car, and just dragging it around like this. Cool.
Did you do all of that in
One pass.
one pass? So you did all those
Dragging
steps.
around like this, you probably could.
So it's all just one.
In one pass, it took me about 6 tries.
That's great.
All right, and then we'll go to People's Choice. All right, so in bronze, we have Ed with Crooked Base. Silver is On the Prowl. And then gold is Berlin. I know, that was weird.
All 3. Yeah, trifecta this time.
All right, now we can move to advanced. Okay. First up, we have Hotel Room Vortex.
All right, that one's
Oh, we're just going to go through the scan and then
sorry.
go.
overacre.
Color Will Weatherbane. Milky Way from Rattlesnake Canyon. Sleeping Angel in Electric Light. Spirals. My Goodness, My Guinness. All right. All right, first up we have Hotel Room Vortex.
All right, so I had this one, and it's much more complex than it originally looks when you first glance at it, because when you look at just the detail of everything, it's all very crisp and clean. The couch, the table, the stuff on the wall, it's all very, very tight in terms of the clarity, and then you've got very selective lighting to brighten up certain parts of the room, and then there's shadow in the other parts, and it looks very, very deliberate. Like the more I looked at it, the more I saw. And you've got reflection on the table, reflection on the picture on the wall of the light. There's a lot going on, and a lot more that I think you realize at first glance. I found myself kind of coming back to this photo and looking at it more and finding more. Like the color selection, I think the gold creates kind of a vintage sort of warm feel of a hotel room. The shadows, I think, are in the right places to give it a little bit of, an ominous feeling, but just slightly. The only comment I had on this one that we talked about was the title talks about a vortex, and I was kind of very initially moving towards like a shape of some sort that I would have expected, like some sort of black hole type of shape, either going into it or up into it or down into it or something. Like I just kind of immediately got this sucked into the vortex type of thought. And the light painting doesn't really speak vortex to me. So that would be my only comment, was there might be an opportunity, if possible, to give that thing a little more purpose, and I think it would have better tied with the title. But a very well executed image.
Okay. Next we have Color Will Weatherbane.
Once again, I feel like I don't know how anything's done around here. This seems like a totally different kind of light painting than all the other kinds that we've done. So when I look at this, I see all these nice colors, and it seems like the shadows are different colors. So I feel like there's different colored light sources from different angles, making lights and shadows to make this work. And overall, I think that it's becomes very interesting. This is just, I mean, I guess this is just one of the windmill things that you can have in your garden, but the way it's treated with all this light makes it a very vivid, abstract design against the background. Here, it looks like we can see a little bit of background, but I think that's this TV that when I was looking at it, it was basically just black with all these colored shapes. And so I thought it was very effective, and I'm definitely, again, curious about how it was made.
Okay, next we have Milky Way from Rattlesnake Canyon.
Okay, so this was mine. First thing that we see here is a really successful capture of the core of the Milky Way. It's a beautiful angle, super colors. The stars, I mean, I didn't pixel peep on this one, but the stars look very crisp, and very, very precise. So I think it's a really successful exposure in camera. Then I took this image and tried to kind of decompose it and think about what's going on. Because typically we see something like this, and it's a composite. You see something where the maker has done something with the foreground, try to get it lit up, and then they've taken a good shot of the Milky Way and they put them together in post. I don't think that was done here. The exposure on this, I want to remember, was about 15 seconds, a single, and I think it was a single exposure. I'm guessing a single exposure. I could be wrong. And I think what has happened here is that the maker did light painting on the canyon walls and the floor of the canyon to light it up. So we get to see a lot of detail. Where I think that we fall a little bit short on the success meter is that typically in a landscape shot like this, you're going for a foreground interest that has a certain compositional weight, and then you're going with the background and something in the middle ground. And so you've got these two things that balance each other out. And here, I don't see anything in the foreground that has any interest or compositional weight to balance out that background. And so I'm not feeling like compositionally this is particularly successful. For me, I think this would be more of a almost square crop and losing about the bottom 40% of this image. Because I think the business part of this image is from the middle point up. And I think it becomes much more interesting there. The light painting is reasonably interesting. I think it's a little bit too even. I think it would have been more interesting to try to highlight certain things and paint those and not others. I appreciate the shapes. I appreciate the framing of the canyon walls, or the whatever you would call the edge of the canyon at the top with the Milky Way. So I think there's a lot of really successful elements here, but I don't know that this particular composition was a good fit for what I think the maker was trying to do with the composition, married with what they had to work with. So I'll stop there.
Okay, next we have Sleeping Angel in Electric Light.
This one I've got. Starting with the angel, since that's the first part of the title. Love the blue. It conveys a sense of kind of nighttime and peace, and it goes well with the angel curled over sleeping. Love the crispness of the photo. You can see the smoothness of her legs and arms and face, and the detail on the dress, and kind of those kind of rough marks on the wings, and they're all very, very clear. So it's a very well executed photo in that respect. And then the kind of corresponding color of the orange is very well coordinated, kind of orangish red. Because they're two very complementary colors. I like the way the light painting sort of frames around her. So it really kind of keeps her as the center of the photo, and it complements her. An idea with the sleeping theme would maybe be to do those lights in like a white to make it like a cloud. So she could be sleeping on a cloud or something. So there's, other ideas of what to do with it. We talked about it might have been a little more successful if it was slightly larger, a little more free space around the edges. So you didn't cut off the top of the light, and there was a little more room for her underneath, because it could feel a bit crowded when you first pulled it up. And then, looking at it on this screen, you can see a few dots along the bottom, just in terms of cleanup. But overall, a very well executed photo, and the theme really goes together, and the colors do as well.
Next we have spirals.
All right. This makes a very interesting design, and the light is very energetic and feels magical. I think that her skin and face are exposed well, skin color and everything looks good. There is some movement that seems to show up in her shoulders and her head, and then in particularly makes her hands confusing. I can't really tell exactly what's going on with her hands. So I think there's just movement when the image was being taken. Down in this corner, down by her ankles, it's very bright, and I think that draws a lot of attention away because it's brighter than her face. It's the brightest part of the image, and so I think that could have just been toned down some to bring the attention back towards her, the main subject. And then I was thinking that possibly it could be cropped a little bit closer because these spirals coming in towards her or out towards us maybe, they just end just before the end. I think that before the edge of the frame, I think if they spiraled off the end of the frame, that it would feel like that it continued. And so I think that possibly cropping it a little differently and toning down this corner would improve the way that the composition with the lighting anyway. But overall, it's very interesting, very energetic, and it's successful.
Thank you. Next we have My Goodness, My Guinness.
So if there was an award for title tonight, I think this would get it. It's fun. I'm sorry. So this is a shot of some of our favorite beer, and it's got a lot of successful elements here. I think are lots of fun. So the color palette, limited, is very nice. I find that the spot from upper right down onto the glass, hitting the head, hitting the harp, the Guinness harp, hitting the logo, I think is very effective and brightens up those elements very, very well against the ale. Or a stout? Is Guinness a stout?
Yes.
It's a stout.
Stout, okay, stout. Let me be precise here. The light coming through the bottom is very interesting. While we don't see the surface the glass is resting upon, I think we get a good sense of the bottom of the frame because of that light. So I think that's very interesting. I find the choice of white light for the painting to be very effective. I think it's very interesting. I think the shape is interesting and complements the glass real well. I think the suggestion of the wisp of vapor at the top is very interesting, even though we're not looking for smoke or heat or anything like that. But I think it's an interesting shape. Opportunities for success here include there's a cutoff thing on the left edge, which is annoying once you see it, right? There's a straight line, and so there's something there. It's like we can't unsee that now. The glass is not straight to the camera; it's turned slightly, and so that's a little off-putting. I think that maybe move the camera back and maybe use a longer lens to kind of flatten the glass out. There's a little bit of lens geometric distortion because of the focal length, I think, here. I'm guessing it's just the glass being cockeyed is just a little bit problematic for me. That said, I'll say I think the other things that I think are really neat here are the highlights in the edges of the glass at the top from the light painting, and then we've picked up some lighting on the sides, that pinkish light. There may have been some added light at in the scene to make sure that we get a good shape definition for the glass. But whatever that is, I think that there's some interesting highlights throughout the glass that help us very clearly understand the shape of the subject in this image.
All right. Let's go to judge's choice. Okay. In third place, we have Gary with Hotel Room Vortex.
Thanks, guys. So this was, it was indeed done in a hotel room. It is probably 6 or 7 images composited. I had fun running around with my, my flashlight on my cell phone making this, just lighting up different things. Just thinking about what would be interesting to put light on and how I could put that into the final image. One thing that Ty mentioned, for example, the lamp on the left is lit up, but you have a shadow on the back of the couch, right? So I was looking for weird things like that that would make no sense in trying to put this together. I especially enjoyed the reflections in the table and the wall art. But yeah, it was fun. It was, hotel rooms are great because they get very, very dark at night. So, you set up the tripod and flip the switch and run around with your light and like that. So yeah, that was fun. Thank you.
Okay, in second, we have Leslie Chatham with Sleeping Angel and Electric Light. I believe they're off traveling, so.
She could be in Oregon with John. I know John's in Oregon, so yeah.
Taking pictures.
And then in first, we have Dennis Boserman with Color Wheel Weather Vane.
Oh.
Well, I struggled with what to do here, and so I went and bought some LED flashlights at I struggled with what to do with this competition, and I bought some LED flashlights, red, green, and blue, from Amazon, and I walked around my backyard and I can't figure out anything to do. And I bundled all 3 of the lights together with my one hand, and I was walking back in, and I noticed, wow, that created a really strange thing, especially if you put shadows in front of it, like you talked about. And then I walked around, and I've taken pictures of this in the sunlight, and I thought, that'll make a good picture. But if you use the shadows to block some of the red, some of the blue, some of the green, then you get those amount of colors out of the 3 colors. So that was the result.
Interesting idea.
Single shot, yeah.
Okay. And then People's Choice. Okay, so bronze is Milky Way from Rattlesnake Canyon from Dick Grossman. Here. And silver is Patrick with Spirals.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Just like all the other times. Like all the other times. Okay. So I'll come over here so I can address everybody and look at the camera and over there. So yeah, this was at the shoot that we set up with Josh at the studio, and yeah, you mentioned the movement of the young lady in that, and there was one single light behind her, and she moved, and the camera picked it up. I mean, there's not much you can do with that. But there's a lot of post-processing on this to get the blues to come out the way they did. So it was fun to do, and yeah, I'm just happy that it worked. So thank you.
And gold is Ty with My Goodness, My Guinness.
There you go.
This was much harder than you would ever imagine. I spent all day trying to figure out how to put lights on so that I could see the curves of the glass, because this is a classic Guinness glass, and to figure out sort of the lighting that would hit the harp and everything. I put socks in a glass, so I had a pink sock on top of a black sock, so I could sort of simulate all of that. And then I have a light that I have a little black box that I cut a hole in, so I'd set the light on top of that coming up through it. And I worked on that all day, and it finally got dark at night, so I could try to do this. And I poured it, and
Drink it.
no, this was the worst part. I pour it all, I turn all the lights on, and they all start going off. The batteries were all dying. And so I was like, ah. And so my wife said, I'll drink that one. And so I gave her that. And then I had to wait another hour or so to try to get them to charge enough that I could do it, because I was using those little cube lights. And then, and that black part on the side, that's one of the barn doors on one of my little lights that I didn't see until it was too late. But then I poured another one and didn't get set on there exactly as straight as I had before, because it's getting later. And so then, and I think the problem was I poured the first one, there were too many bubbles on the glass, so I poured a second one, set it up, the lights went out, so we both drank a beer. And so then we waited, and then it was finally, I poured the third beer and was able to start getting the pictures taken. And then when I got done with that, I took it over to the computer and was doing all my editing, drinking that beer. And honestly, just to get this one picture, I was doing this until like 2 in the morning. So.
Did you drink the whole 6-pack?
They don't come in 6-packs, it's only 4. I was running out and was afraid I was gonna have to go to the store and do this another night. But I got something that I could use. So. And then my Guinness is a very famous one if you don't know Guinness advertising history. So.
Well, thank you for suffering for your art.
Oh, yes. It was tough.
I think everybody learned something about light painting and manipulating images. I learned a lot too, and got to the point that I just gave up. I tried to light paint a very small subject and learned how much focus breathing there is in Nikon's 105 lens. Clay, we don't need that yet. Keep it down. No.
Not done yet.
A couple of things coming up that I didn't mention. We have until midnight or 11:59 Friday night to turn in images for NAPfS APPA competition. The competition, I think I told you, starts at precisely 1. They'll turn the first image. Because we had so few images, I was talking to John and Cody, and it was suggested that we might want to take a look and discuss just the advanced set of images, because they show something really interesting that we haven't talked about before. The judges chose a set of 3 images, and the People's Choice was a different set of 3 images. So I'd like to open it up and let Cody start leading this while I swap out a laptop and see what we think about whether we expect this type of outcome or whether we should work on learning more about how to rank images so that we get a more consistent outcome. Another thought on this is we've talked about training judges. Probably the best training that we'll have an opportunity for is the competition, because we'll have 3 certified PPA judges. We will hear all of their conversations. We will hear all of their challenges. And Vicki has planned to do a full explanation on how they challenge and how they work together to get uniform scores. Cody, you want to kind of step through what we have in the two views of the same set of images?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure the best way to do it. Maybe I'll just switch back out to the full list so we can look at them. But yeah, I was thinking it might be good if we just, yeah, especially because in the advanced category it was weird, and actually intermediate was strange because they're almost never exactly lined up, but they were this time, which was like, okay, that's an interesting find. But yeah, I've always seen that where, yeah, a lot of times, you know, even after the judges' critiques and then you see people's choice, you're kind of left, or at least a lot of times I'm left with wondering like, well, why did we think, we're gonna switch to your laptop? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to have these up for, you want me to unplug it, so?
Unplug that.
Okay. Do that.
So
There you go. Yeah, so I was just thinking it would be interesting to kind of look and think about what's different about it. And is it, yeah, like Bill said, could we learn about what the judges saw that maybe the people didn't? Because maybe it's all impact that people are seeing and then the judges are being more critical, or maybe they're missing stuff that everyone else saw, and then we can all kind of learn about what's different. And I think John and I have talked about how we might have biases in the way that certain people see images, so maybe some images are kind of not given, I don't want to say a fair chance, but they're just biases, so we could maybe figure out where those exist and how do you break it down. And the idea is we can just learn more, right?
But then again, Bill seems to imply, tell me if I'm wrong, that we want uniformity in results among people's choice and judges, because this is all incredibly subjective within the realms of, you know, technical, you know, just technical processes and considerations.
I find it, I think for me, it's, I'm not looking, I don't think, yeah, we should have uniformity,
Yeah.
right? I think that John and I even talk about that a lot. It's like, yeah, whenever the judges get and talk, it's like, do they really need to align on everything? Or is it okay to have one judge is like, this is our favorite image, and another one which is like, no, that's my least favorite, right? Because sometimes that's true. But I also find it interesting, so like when you have, like beginner's a good example where it's like, yeah, the ordering's a little different, but in general, there's like a grouping of images that were viewed stronger by everyone. Whereas sometimes you'll see stuff where it's like people's choice is like first place and judges is like dead last in the score. And then it's like flipped, right? So like you'll have the judges' scores like number one, and then, and those I find interesting because it seems like if we're all looking at those images, they would at least tend to clump in the same grouping, right? You'd at least have the top half be similar, but it seems like almost like some people are finding flaws or something they don't like about an image and the judges are seeing something different. And I think a lot of it is just maybe training people so that we actually know what we're looking for, right? And think about it. Anyway.
All right. So first question is, how consistent would our judging be, right? If I was to give you this set of images today and ask you to score them, and then come back in March and ask you to score them again, would you repeat the same thing exactly?
Right.
And I don't know that we would do that. And as far as training people on what they like, I don't know. You know, I kind of like that I like what I like.
I guess if I had a counterpoint to that, I think probably one of the things that's happening is that I think the judges are more critical of technical execution, where people maybe overlook some of that stuff. And I think that's going to be one of the bigger differences and factors in how those turn out, where, you know, something that looks nice and has a lot of impact, like both sides can appreciate that. But like the thing with the my goodness, my Guinness, I did not notice it was being cut off on one side. I was just like, I like this one. So I think that's going to happen sometimes.
I think the other thing is that the judges are talking with people about it in a Congress, whereas you might be judging those pictures on your computer at home, or worse, your cell phone.
With a Guinness.
Or a Porsche. But, you know, when we're sitting there and if we're talking about this image and I notice that the glass is turned slightly, or you notice that my car is too close to the edge, you know, and I didn't notice that, but once you bring it up, then we're all talking about it. And that is something that will impact things.
Yeah. And maybe another thought there is, because I don't have any experience with like PPA or anything, but it's like if you had professional judges, would they have that same problem? Is it that we're amateurs, we just sort of look at things and it's what we like, but there's like another aspect where if we could learn to be more critical, there might be, hey, I don't really like that image that much, but I can see why it was successful, right? At least that's what I'm curious about.
But I also feel that our club is more for everyone. It's an amateur one, and if I wanted to be in the professional one, I'd go to their club and do their stuff. So this, I think, gets all sorts of different people involved, and they can have all their own opinions. And so I like that about this club, that I don't think that there's any reason that they should all match up. And I think that there are a lot of different people that have a totally different idea of what their art is, And just the fact that they're willing to share it with the rest of us, I think that's great. And you don't have to like the kind of stuff. You might not even understand the stuff they're doing, but I think it's great to be exposed to all the different kinds of ideas that people have.
I mean, I don't know about the amateur versus professional. I mean, Bill cleaned house at their own competition just recently.
No, but our club, it's not
our
trying
club
to
is
be
really
only
good.
for professionals.
Right, but all
this
the people
club.
in our club seem to take pretty good pictures, and we spent a year with the APPA judge, and we fired them because we didn't like them that much. So
That was a PSA judge.
Oh,
That was
PSA.
PSA
Okay,
judge.
sorry.
I've looked at some photo competitions, and I've looked at some pictures that won, and I thought, man, I would have thrown that one in the trash. It's just a matter of opinion in a lot of spaces, and everybody has different opinions and backgrounds and what you like and don't like, and what's fresh to you. Maybe you haven't seen that picture before, or maybe you've seen it 50 times, so it makes a big difference too.
There is a level of experience in terms of what impacts you and what you consider to be fabulous. I think all of us are probably familiar enough with photography that when we saw that first drone shot of the camels marching through the desert, you see their shadows, you see that and you're like, oh my God, that's the best thing ever in the world. And now I've seen it 50 times and it's like, yawn. So experience is part of this, and just how much you look at photography and how much experience you have in critiquing it. But I don't know, but if someone sees the 500th iteration of that for the first time and loves it, I mean, that's not bad, because it's, there's this jaded quality that comes in too. But technical excellence is one thing, and as we were talking about it before the meeting began, there's something about impact that an imperfect photo can just, for whatever reason, be like, bam, impact, even if it's technically imperfect. So all these things are important and valid.
We look at the way PPA orders their 12 elements, and I think for club competition, we can just take the first 5 and say, do we care about these? Number 1, on our website, number 1 with PPA is impact. Does it make an impression on you? Does it get your attention? Probably our best example this time around was My Guinness. It had impact. It was less colorful than the others. It didn't have the bright colors, but it had impact. Since we're trying to perfect our skills as photographers, technical excellence is another piece of that. Technical excellence is Gary's Border Patrol. If you're trying to do a quality image, I don't believe there's any place that you want to leave bits of stuff floating on the edge, sensor spots in your image. You need to get those cleaned up. Storytelling. All the images that you've mentioned as high impact images also tell a story. So storytelling is important. Composition is important for learning because it tells us how to place objects in our field of view to make the impact we're striving for. I've forgotten which the other 5 are. Composition, impact, storytelling.
Center of interest?
No, that's not.
It's not in there? Okay, I forgot.
I'm not going to go to PPA's website, but there's 5. If you look on our website, Bree Thatcher's presentation about 12 elements of a mirrored image has a drawing. In the center of that drawing is impact. Around it are 4 others, which are storytelling, composition, technical excellence, and I'm drawing a blank on the other C. But those are the ones that I think are truly important to us. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on what we ought to be striving for. And yes, this group is more artist than Cohen-operated professional photographer. Go ahead, Berlin.
All right, so there were only 6 images in the advanced competition this time. How wide a range was the scoring on them, right? If, say, out of a scale of 100, and these photos were ranked from 94 to 100, and you're, okay, I'm kind of splitting hairs here. Does it make a difference that we, the not judges, scored them differently than you guys? Now, if you were scoring them, 199, 98, and those others were 60, 59, 58, then there's a serious discrepancy.
No, the scores were very close. I mean,
Yeah, so we're
like,
splitting hairs.
This is not the best month for this discussion because there were so few.
and they're very close.
Yeah.
In ours, I mean, 1 point they're 1 point apart from different ones, and
Yeah, and so if you scored them again in March, you might come up with a different order. And if I scored them again in March, I might come up with a different order. Because they're close. And, are we having a huge discrepancy in people's choice versus, well, you said that there were some where it was like dead last versus,
Yeah.
but is dead last
No, and
94?
I think that's fair. I did not do a
On the screen,
Oh, no, you're not sharing. Or it's not the right.
It's one of those
Maybe you
minimalist
drag it.
pictures.
Maybe you need to
Black
drag it
bear in the
over.
dark cave.
There you go.
I just wanted to say, I think that there's a couple things I noticed. One thing is, we spend a little, in my opinion, again, we spend a little too much time on the scoring aspect of our judging, and also, as a photographer, when I get feedback, I look for actionable things that I can do to improve the shot the next time I would take it, right? So giving me, and we all, as a group, tend to have a narrow aesthetic. And I think taking the PPA judge criteria to 12, even down to 5, will make our aesthetic even more narrow. I think we should be, judges should be more prepared to speak about the piece, the image in question, rather than getting caught on things like the title or even the, simple things. I think we need to work on giving better feedback about the images and make it more actionable for the photographer to be able to think about, if you're a judge, when this image comes in front of you, what can the photographer do next time? If they were in the same situation, taking the same photo, what could they do differently? And focus your attention on that and give that feedback. And if that score gets a 92 or that score gets a 62, as a photographer, I don't really care. I just want to know that feedback. I think you improve as a photographer, as an artist in general, when you create a feedback loop, meaning you do something, you get feedback, you go back to the drawing board, you do it again, you get more feedback, and you keep iterating this until you get to where your vision is come to life, right? And I think we're getting away from that we're getting sidetracked by scores and people's choices and this and that, and we're not getting to it's like, think of a dish, a meal, right? We're all green beans and potatoes and there's no steak, right? I mean, I hate to use that analogy, but that's how I see some of our judging. And my advice would be to just, from what I've seen, maybe try to focus more on, when we critique the image, actually critique the image and focus on the actionable things the photographer can do in this same scenario next time.
Mary, you've got 2 minutes, I'm sure.
Nope.
I agree that we need to have a lot more feedback and training essentially in our competition, so that when we see an image that could be improved, we do that. I'm thinking about the moving the light painting in the garden. That could have probably been improved a little bit or considerably by completely removing the T-post or not letting light fall on the T-post, letting it vanish into the background, and maybe finish out the pathways with light. Something else I did, and in some ways it fits some of what I've heard from Carol and Mary and others. I wrote a prompt for ChatGTP and had it go through all of our images. And I got here with that. We can go through some of those I'm having real trouble moving between screens here. I think I may know what to do quickly to make it sane for me to deal with it. But if Ed can tell me how to set up a place to store both the prompt and the results from the prompt.
When you say prompt, what do you mean? What does that mean? Example.
This is what I asked ChatGPT to do for me. I told it to disregard any images that it's seen previously. Let's take just a couple of minutes break. If somebody wants to lead the rest of this, lead this discussion while I play PC.
All right, so if you ask ChatGPT to judge these photos, right? ChatGPT will judge those photos by whatever metric it came up with in its head to judge those photos. Yeah. If you say, judge these photos, but disregard photos that it's seen before because you want to get rid of plagiarism or whatever. Okay. Well, then now it's going to judge them differently. It's going to follow that set of instructions. If you say, well, judge them, disregard images that you've seen before, and focus on elements of light painting, because that was a theme this month, then you will get possibly different results. And you keep building that prompt until you get what you want.
I'm not super...
You know, like you might get results, not necessarily the ranking order, but that you get, you know, when it comes through and it says, okay, well, this picture looks like this. And you're like, well, that's not what you're supposed to be talking about at all, right? You know, and so I need to filter that prompt. I gave you a bad set of instructions. If you ever did one of those like team building work exercises where I'm giving you instructions, but I can't look at what you're doing, and you're following my instructions, and then I turn around and I see what you did instead, it's kind of like that.
I want to go on record as saying I'm against it. No robot overlords judging our photos.
Me too.
You ready?
No, I'm not ready.
No? Okay.
Ed's working.
So it's a tool. I think Carol talked about using ChatGPT to help write her artist statement, right? It's a tool in the toolbox, like autofocus. That is a very, very small form of artificial intelligence. It's not robot overlords when you hit the autofocus button. It's a tool that you can use. I don't need a computer to tell me what I like. And that's fine, but it is a tool that might be useful sometimes.
Why?
Why? So we're trying to sort out this discrepancy right here, right? Okay, well, let's put something in that doesn't have a human opinion. What does it think? How did it score them?
GPT is made of human opinions.
No, it is made of history, but it doesn't, it's not.
History is human opinion.
It's an aggregate of human opinions and history over time.
Sort of, yes, but the computer learns on its own, right? If you tell it to solve this problem, like tell my face from ties, right? This is something humans are historically very good at. Multiplying pi times e is something humans are historically very bad at, but computers are very good at. When they started doing fuzzy logic and neural networks, they found that the better they made humans at telling Ty's face from mine, the worse it got at math.
Okay.
And you have to teach the computer how to learn, just like it does with image recognition. We do this at work with defect recognition for faults on semiconductors. And is this an embedded particle? Is this a surface particle? Is this a scratch? And if you tell it that an embedded particle has these characteristics and a surface particle has these characteristics, you will spend the rest of everyone's life trying to make it work. But if you tell it this is an embedded particle and this is a surface particle, and you give it 5,000 or 6,000 examples, and say, you figure out how to tell this one from this one, it will figure out how to tell them apart with 93% accuracy or so. But the computer learns on its own.
No, that's not, is this photo better than that one?
Well, so, you know, we've seen examples, and we've seen great examples of failures. They make the news, like when Amazon decided they were going to screen applicants, right? And so they said, okay, figure out what it all is, because we're going to remove the human biases and all that. And so the Amazon algorithm started learning what it took to make successful employees. And then it concluded that Well, everybody at the top's men, so obviously you women just can't do work. And it screened them. And they said, oops. So the computer learns what it learns, and sometimes you have to slap it and say, hey, no, not that. And this was an example of that. We told it to solve a problem, and we didn't give it clear instructions, and it solved it wrong. But there aren't a whole bunch of people at Amazon saying women can't work. That would be career suicide no matter what you thought. So you wouldn't do that, even if you were dim enough to believe it. But the computer learned that based on the environment that it was given, because the Amazon executives and the higher management was mostly men. And so that's obviously a key for success. Well, no, it wasn't. It just learned something wrong.
I'll just say, I think ChatGPT is a tool, and we can feed it the PPA criteria and have it generate maybe a list of critiques. I think it behooves us to check all that and add to it and not rely solely on it, because hallucinations is a big part of it. But it definitely can't be the only thing we use.
I mean, I think my overall thought on this whole thing was it's more of the discussion, right? It's like pull up an image and talk about it. I think kind of to Carol's point, it's like talk about it more, like understand it. What could we all do better? And I looked at it as like, and I haven't used it too much, but I've thrown like an image at it and said, hey, critique this. It's like, oh, you should crop this. You should do this. And I think about it. I'm like, okay, I like that suggestion, but I don't like that one. It's no different than if I'm asking you that same opinion, right? So I think of it as like, oh, we can sit here and we could just say, that's terrible. We hate the way that it did it, but at least we still learned something, I think. Or we can say, oh, that's interesting. It did pick out something that no one here thought of, or whatever. So I just look at it as a tool to, in this scenario, just talk.
You can have a conversation with it.
Yeah.
I guess I have a question, though. Can we see a show of hands? How many people feel that they are very articulate and can very quickly articulate about a photograph? Raise your hand.
I'll raise my hand. Yeah, I can talk about a photograph that I like or dislike.
So, how many people feel that they are articulate about a photograph? Like honestly, if you were, let's say tomorrow, the Museum of Modern Art said, we want to have you judge our photographs from our historical collection. How many of us could honestly go into the MoMA and say, well, here's this classic Ansel Adams. This is the positive points. This is the negative points.
So I could come in and tell you what I thought about it, right? Could I tell you the art history of who Ansel Adams was inspired by, or a list of other 19 photographers and painters that it's sort of like? No, I sure couldn't. But I could tell you that, well, the focus is really sharp. This has impact that I like, but damn it, it's black and white, and I just don't like black and white.
So my point is, the PPA criteria are a small set of criteria, and again, it's a narrow focus. I think the problem that we have stems from the fact that we collectively as a group should work to be more articulate about photography and photographs in general. And that's coming from the fact, and again, I'm not trying to insult like anybody who's judged or anything. We do a good job because we do what we do, but I think we can improve our ability to articulate about images. And that would help stem some of what we're seeing, because we're saying like we want to go to this PPA list, right? But that's not a full list, right? And it's one narrow list. Again, there are other, I can name lots of photographers that PPA would rip, and they don't, it's their list, right? And again, it leads to a very narrow aesthetic. And I think we should all strive to be more articulate about photography in general. And I'm not saying we should be more careful about who's judging, because I think we should open it up to judging. But I think we should maybe one of our classes, maybe one of our talks next year should be someone who is very articulate about photography, have them come in and talk to us about, what it takes, how we can improve our skills in that area. Would be my suggestion.
Okay, so I don't want to pick on you, but you've said two different things tonight, right? You said on this that you wanted actionable information.
Yes.
And now you're saying, but not off the list, right? So,
well, no, I'm not saying not only off the list.
Right, but the actionable information is going to come off of a list, and if the list is 1,000 things long, then you're boiling the ocean. How do I get to all this? I think that you have to have some, some room.
Actionable information doesn't have to be impact or composition. It has to be like, what if you, took 3 steps to the right and squatted? I mean, it can be very specific. It doesn't have to be anything from any list of criteria, is what I'm getting from Carol.
That's exactly
So why would you take 3 steps to the right and squat?
To get a different angle,
Change the composition,
change the composition.
a thing off the list.
But it wouldn't be third item on the list, change composition. I'm just saying, we're being, in terms of being articulate, actionable information,
Actionable information comes off a list.
yes.
It
Well,
doesn't have to,
no,
though, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
It's not only off the list.
Or then you're just finding something because you don't like my photo. You don't like me personally. You're out to get me, and so you made something up this time. You never picked on Mary about that take 3 steps to the right, that squat. It was just me. So you create, this is a set of guidelines that we judge people by. And I don't always agree with them, obviously. But it is something that implements a bit of fairness. You're not out to get me. My photograph wasn't in focus.
I'm going to cut to what I consider the fundamental problem here.
Okay.
First, second, third, blue ribbon, red ribbon. That's the problem for me. I would much prefer successful image. Hey, why does it have to be first, second, third? We're not in junior high anymore. That's my whole problem with this whole thing. Rather than let's just, hey, successful image. And hey, fascinating. Maybe it could have been done differently. That's my deal.
So what's the criteria for a successful image?
Not
How do we-
87 or 88, as we were talking about before. A mixture of impact, a mixture of our human biases, because we all have them. We're not robots. We're not ChatGPT. It's a mixture of all the things off the list. But what gets it to me is reducing very subjective human emotions that will change every week, every month with every rotating judges. Reducing that to 87 versus 88 versus 83. That's my problem.
Think about American Idol when they do the Hollywood week, right? They give you a golden ticket. So everyone comes in, they have a panel of judges, and they say, do you go to Hollywood or not? Right? They're not looking at will they win the competition. They're just looking at are you good enough to continue to the next level, right? And I think along with what Mary's saying, that's what I would like to see as well. No first, second, third, no ribbons, none of this, but just is this image, is this image going to Hollywood week or not? It's almost a binary switch, right? And really, like that makes a lot of sense. It is a good way to judge work because, it works for American Idol, right? Look what they've done. And, combine that with actionable feedback to the photographer that submits work. And if you want to do awards, maybe at the end of the year, tally up the Hollywood Week winners and say, these are people that had more than 5 or whatever over the course of the year. And that would also encourage people to enter the competitions more because you would be more likely to get a binary yes if you put more work in.
I'm trying to figure out a way to implement this. I'm not opposed to it. PPA, and I've been immersed in this because once Roy got us started down the path of both APPA and NAPfS competing in the show, and I'll show you now that I've finally figured out how to drive this thing, I'll show you what's been entered in that competition. That competition will get numeric scores. The judges are well-trained, and you kind of expect them to be able to deal with that.
Well-trained at shot color.
And I forgot the button. They actually have prescribed ways that are automatic challenges. But the other thing PPA has done is say there's just too many images coming in for image merit review. And when they do that, they give the images with some help, it could be worthy of a merit. It's worthy of a merit. I've forgotten the words, but more than worthy of merit. So they have five bins they sort those images into. It made it, you got a merit, It's really good. It's very, very good. You can work on this image, get a merit, or you probably ought to try a different image.
All right.
This all makes me want to put my hand in the garbage disposal.
Okay. But, all right, as someone has to deal with people gaming metrics all the time. So what happens, one, you're the only one who gets this is an unsuccessful image. That one kind of hurts. Two, what happens if everybody gets a successful image?
Participation trophies.
Well, but we do already, like, everybody gets judged and gets feedback, and they're always very clear.
Always very
if they
nice.
feel
Yeah.
this is a successful image.
Yes, but if everything's a successful image, then everything's,
That's why you get the actionable feedback, though.
but it's just a successful image.
But that's not what,
No, that's not.
You got a microphone, you don't need this
Turn
one.
it on. I'm sorry, I turned it on. Let me turn it back on. I'll use this. So I'm new, just came in like June. So now it's,
That means you're fresh.
Sorry to have to
Well,
torture you with this.
I'm confused. I think Marissa, we talked about this.
We talked about this the other
Finished
day,
judging the
yeah.
photos, and I gave some feedback that just coming into it new, I don't understand this tangle you're currently talking about. But it seems like it comes up every time in some way. And so I'm not sure what problem is trying to be solved, but when I first saw the group and looked at the website and kind of cyber-stalked it for a while, the impression I got was like, hey, we're fun, relaxed people, we're not super uptight, we do things, we go out and take pictures of things, we have some competition sometimes, we do some social stuff, and that looked like fun, because I didn't want to go and get a 69 or 50 on a photo, because I'm an intermediate and I'll suck for the next 10 years before I'm allowed to move up. And so I was like, I'll try that, that sounds fun. And it feels to me like we're not 100% sure on these competitions what our goal is. Because we're sort of talking about criteria, and should we have more criteria, and we're talking about less criteria, and should we have no criteria, and that to me just says we're not 100% sure what goal we want. And I think all the outcomes are good, it's just we just need to pick which one we want most, or which couple. And then the implementation, I think, gets a little easier. You know, maybe at the basic level or the intermediate level, you know, it's tiered, like, you know, if you're trying to build the bottom of the pyramid up, like, yeah, feel free to rip the advanced people a new one, you know? But maybe people coming in are like, hey, let's just talk about how we could do this better. And don't worry about the scores, you know? And then maybe that's how you get more images submitted. And then people want to stick a toe in the water, you know, like, okay, you know, maybe I'll move up to the next level and actually allow someone to be mean to me a little bit. And then if you want to go up in the top level, well, that's a conscious choice. You know, but maybe not everybody needs to be treated the same. Because like Gary was explaining to me in some,
Trying
you
to,
know,
trying to.
that you know, if you're a beginner, you don't get more than like a 60. I'm like, well, why would I want to belong to a club where I always got a D? You know?
The first one I submitted was out of focus. And I got some fair feedback from it, but I didn't see the score. Like, you know, we don't see the spreadsheet. I got feedback on my image. Hey, here's some points in your favor, and here's something you could do better. And that's exactly what I wanted from this. Like, it's helping me do better each month because I am getting that feedback. I'm seeing other people's feedback up against their image. So, like, I think I'm getting exactly what I needed out of this.
one of the
And I
decisions
do
that
feel
was
like it's
made
fair.
a little over a year ago was that we wouldn't show everyone's scores. You could see your own score, which is just an average. It's not even individual scores, it's just the average. And you don't see everyone else's scores. You can, I think you can maybe see the critiques that people wrote about different pictures, the same stuff that we talked about in here. And I think that that's good, and I think that it's really interesting that when we talk about different images, even if it's not your own, you're like, oh, I see what they're talking about. I'll remember that when I'm trying to do my own. And so I think that critiquing all of them is good. I don't think seeing how we're ranked against each other and that, oh, you know, you got a 50, you know, it's not helpful at all to anybody. except to demoralize them and make them not want to come back to the club. So,
Yeah, I'm dragging all the history of NAPfS from the very beginning when there were, I think Clay and Ed and I were probably the only ones here today that were part of the original NAPfS. And then the speaker ranked the images. There was just, everybody turned in an image, and Josh or Andrew in general went through and said, out, out. No baby pictures, out. No children pictures, out. And they ended up with one or two images that they thought were really good, and they talked about those. Then I think it ran that way pretty much until Andrew passed. And we brought in PSA and PSA judging. We had little keypads where the judges sat facing the screen, and they pushed a number for how they wanted to rate the image, and I've forgotten what they were. It didn't work well. You got an instantaneous score, boom, here's your answer. And then the machine totaled those up, and here's first place. Then we brought in Visual Pursuits, their tools to manage this process, and we used sliders, and it was a mess. And it's getting slimmed down and slimmed down to the point that we're now ranking images in order and giving some award for that. And every image gets a critique, both verbal and written.
I think that was a big improvement. A few years ago, everyone could submit 2 images, and then they only talked about like 5% of the images. So an image would show up, your own image, and everyone's like, there's nothing worth to say about that. And then sometimes there's some judges who would say, they want to say stuff that's about a really good image and what's good about it, or other judges wanted to talk about, this one has all these problems, here's all the things you could correct. And I don't think that we learned nearly as much as when every image was critiqued, and there were discussions about what was good about it and what could be improved, and you learn from all of those. And I thought it felt very bad in the past when you went to the trouble, put the image in, and all you did was, after the whole thing was done, you didn't get the top scores. You could see all of them ranked, and you're like, oh, I'm second from the bottom, and that sucked. And I never got any information, except you could read maybe a critique at the end. But it wasn't talked about, it wasn't important enough to be in front of everyone. And so I like how we're doing it now for the most part. And I think that it's good that, I think it's fine to say that this was the most popular one, but I don't think it's good to find out, oh, I was the 17th most popular. And you don't see that. Even after you're done, if you look in here, you just see a score. You don't know how you rank against anyone else, the way that we show it on the website anymore.
And our numeric scores have no connection to reality, because some of the judges try to score like they think PPA would. Others think, well, I'll give the best one 100 and work my way down from there. One of John Chapman's concerns were that the way the scores are averaged to order images, very high scores override lesser scores and take things out of order. And that's really the thing that started this conversation, was that because we don't have a process to keep the scores within a narrow band, the wildly varying scores have undue influence. Go ahead, Mary.
And for all the bitching I've been doing about this process, I agree with Ty that the way we're doing it now is a great improvement, in that just when I'm judging, I know my own biases, and I'll look at something like, oh God, I don't like this genre. But if I have to go by the criteria, give it my sliding scale and everything, it's like, okay, I'm not that into a wildlife photo, but this, and this is good, and this is not so good. It actually is better. So I'm thinking the over getting more and more dependent on numbers and scores and criteria, rather than using that as a tool to get to some of the very good discussion we've had here on just a general critique, like, and everybody, all our judges do it so well, like, this is an interesting image, I like this, maybe, like, I think the judges are all, even inexperienced ones, are very good about giving the actionable things. We could focus more on that, like, maybe this, maybe that. So I have been focusing on some of the negatives, but I will agree with Ty that the direction we have been going is a positive one, and I want to make sure it continues to be in the positive direction, rather than getting more and more mechanistic and numerical and everything. More, let's sit around and talk about these images and what's working and what's not working, and what do you do about the ones that aren't working?
I'll also agree with Ty. I think that we have been moving in a very positive direction over where we started, or at least where we started when I joined in, which was at the tail end of that phase one. I don't know how big a problem it is where you have a wildly disparate score, but like, if I scored at 100 and you both scored at a 70, then I'm going to curve that score sharply. Or if I scored at a 0 and you both scored at a 70, I'm going to curve that very sharply. And so maybe we use ChatGPT as a fourth judge and say, okay, if we have a wild score, then let's do something.
We've been doing those judges meetings, which I think there's people that are torn on whether that should be there. I think when we didn't have that, you would have these wild scores that you would find that there was something that you never expected to be selected. And sometimes, it was like totally a mistake. And so having the judges talk to each other, they discuss it, kind of like the other judging, where if we're way off, we're like, okay, tell me what you were seeing in here, and we get closer, and you could say, well, is that bad because you're sort of talking to each other and convincing each other of something? And in some cases that could be bad if you've got someone that's really overpowering, but if you're having a good discussion, then I think that you end up with a more thoughtful result. And
that's why the judges' discussion was started, was to help other judges see what Judge A is seeing.
And that's another thing. It's very hard to get judges because most of you don't volunteer to judge. It's hard to get judges. As anyone that has been the competition coordinator knows, every single month. And then, so I think that you need to be able to make it encouraging that everyone judges that wants to, that you can have people that are beginners, because it's, just as you've just started judging a few times as an intermediate, and I assume that you've found it fulfilling and useful. You did it twice. Until this time. So I think that's a big part of the learning too, because you look at all these pictures, you have discussions with some other people, and it has you thinking about it more than, oh, that was just my favorite one when I just flipped through it on my phone like Instagram. But in reality, that's also the way that people look at pictures. So
I have a question. I've judged now, I think 3 times in the last 5 months. And that shouldn't be. Because I keep seeing these notes like, hey, we need one more person. I'm like, all right.
But you're so good at it.
Huh?
But you're so good at it.
You are good at it.
But my question is, though, everybody keeps alluding to this big disparity. And in my little data set of 3, everyone's been like really nice.
This was John's disparity. And one of his concerns were that the more experienced judges swayed the newbies. And I'm pretty sure Lydia hasn't been swayed, and Ty hasn't been swayed.
with discussion.
Oh, no. You hear other people's point, and you adjust your view with that new knowledge.
Right,
And
and
that's-
I've never had a situation yet, and it's been different people every single time, where we didn't align on our thoughts at the end of the discussion. The discussion never usually went longer than 45 minutes. I mean, until this one with Gary.
Cody, you're going to, oh, you got a mic. You need to speak, you need to speak on John's behalf. I'm speaking for John here.
Yeah, but my point is that a historical problem that's no longer a problem? Because I haven't seen it in my brief window of experience. I mean, everybody's been great.
And how big
I
would it
don't
have to
think
be actually a problem?
What?
You know, so, yeah, if I scored 90 and Pat scored 80, right, is that a problem? If I scored 100 and Pat scored 70, is that a problem?
No, but if you.
No, but that's not happening.
And you're communicating with each other, you
Yeah.
probably don't end up with that stuff after you've talked.
Yeah, so,
And everyone that's doing it as the viewer's choice is only ranking them, they're not giving them scores.
yeah, so to her point, you know, is there a problem here to be solved?
No, I think so. I think John's point, and he monitored it more than me, was that I guess maybe his worry was, are people not entering the competitions because they're like, oh, my image is just always pushed down to the bottom, and then I think he would see stuff where, and who knows, but you come into it and you say, oh well, like at the beginning before the judges meet, everything's ordered in a certain way because you guys all put your ranks in, and then afterwards it's like stuff is like all over the place, and without being there, you have no idea what's happening. But the question is like, oh, you start seeing like certain images move up, and the question is really like, I think for me, for me personally, it's not, I don't really care that things move because they're kind of supposed to, right? It's more of, are these biases preventing people or deterring people from entering competitions? And I think maybe one of the things is, yeah, how do we make it where people are like excited to get into competitions? And maybe we don't even have to, maybe calling it competition is a problem, but like, how do you get people in here so that we get critiques? And I think actionable feedback is part of it, right? Like, so again, it's like a discussion instead of just, here's your score kind of a thing,
I
right?
don't know that I would call it a problem, but with my experience in judging, I would call it more of an issue than a problem in the discussion and the way people are people sway each other, people convince each other. There's a little bit of horse trading that goes on, but that is in order to make what's first, what's second, what's third. Mm-hmm. So that's where things shift, to my mind. Well, okay, I put it at an 80 and you put it at an 87, so that would make it, so to me, the issue or the problem is in my experience of judging, there's usually a pretty good consensus on what are the most meritorious images for whatever reason.
Well,
but the horse trading that goes on is what's number one, what's number two, what's number three, which gets back to what I keep harping on.
which is, I have no issue with that, but my issue came with, I would look at these photos when I'm judging and I rank them because the numbers that I'm given on the sliders don't make sense to me. And
we shouldn't be using the sliders anymore.
Right, that's the other part. We're not using the sliders, so whatever number we arbitrarily come up with has no meaning, so I would rank them. And then when we came to the judges meeting, we had to switch and make it a score-ish kind of number. So that was a disconnect for me that I was trying to explain to John through email at one point in time.
Just because your original scores were kind of meaningless, then you had to add them, is what you're saying? Like that's where
I had them ranked.
Yeah, you had
So I
it
like
ranked.
this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And then, we have to switch and.
Switch, we have to make it to go numerical.
And that
And the thing is, you don't have to align. I think that's kind of part of the part. So I think we do want to just switch to the rank, like to the rank order, like instead of doing it by scores, because again, the scores are meaningless, but if you guys can't talk, it's a lot easier to say, oh yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. To me, that's just easier for everybody to wrap their heads around.
It might be more consistent with people's choice if you're also doing ranking, because then you don't have score discrepancies that can pull something up. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think, but actually even here, like I did a check. It didn't change anything from the judges' scores if you did it. But I have seen in the past where there's been like once or twice where the ordering would have flipped based on that. But I just thought it was easier. But the other part is you don't have to. fully agree, right? Like you can just say like, here's where we think stuff
I
is.
would very much like to give an example after Clay says what he wants to say. Who's been waiting very patiently.
Okay, I just wanted to turn our attention to the fact that we're going to have the picture of the year coming up pretty soon, and Ed he's working on getting a gallery set up so that we'll be able to, People's Choice Picture of the Year. It's quite an honor. There's also some prize money that goes with that, and then we discuss it. We don't discuss it, actually. That's a People's Choice. And Ed stops the vote before we have the holiday party. Ed, do you want to say anything about compared to what we're doing last year? We did it last year this way? Same as last year. But you will get a chance to look at a little over 100 pictures. These are the ones that have been submitted the entire 2025. And you can use your personal judgment, or you can use the elements, the 12 elements, the APPA, to try to pick out what you consider to be the best.
ChatGPT.
No, I don't, that's up to you too, I guess, that's right. So look forward to that. I think that's going to sharpen the discussion. I appreciate the conversation, which as a club, we have had this ongoing development. The question was raised, do we have a problem now to solve? We do have John, who was a coordinator, raising some issues. So I think that's important to try to work on that so that we can resolve it and continue into 2026. That's my opinion.
So I'm wired up. So John had expressed some concern at our leadership meeting about seeing scores change from before the judges meeting to after the judges meeting, and had raised the concern, the idea that maybe lesser experienced judges, or some judges, maybe not even lesser experienced, but some judges are being railroaded. And it's a triggering term, but I'm just going to use it anyways. But I'm going to give an example for tonight. And I will say that tonight, there were a couple of images that I ranked very lowly on my initial assessment. I put them way down at the bottom. And upon having the meeting with Lydia and Ty, realized that I had not given them fair due, and they brought to light things that I had not well considered, because I make mistakes too. Okay? No, I know.
It's just rank.
And I appreciate that meeting, because then I get to get that different perspective and go, no, wait a minute, I need to look at this more closely. I have not done the work necessary for this image. Look at the image and think about what needs to be done. And out of that, because we were there over 3 hours the other day. I think it was a long meeting. But there was wine, I'm just saying. Yeah, there was wine, okay. But out of that discussion comes an agreement that, yeah, we are on board with this, and we are on board with this, and we are on board with this, and we decide overall how things more or less look. The scoring is a separate issue, because we don't need the scores, we need ranking.
Right.
Okay, is what it comes down to. And I personally would like to do away with the scoring, because that's a harder thing to do. Okay, I've been an PPA member for 10 years. I've watched the competitions. It's hard. Okay, I don't think we have the skill necessary in this club to do it well, but that's just my opinion. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. But if we have the rankings, I think we still get to the thing, and we have the discussion, the feedback, and the observations, and the vocalization of our thoughts. I think that's got a lot more value. Okay, I'm going to sidebar here, because you said a list. That 12-element list from PPA, I have yet to hear you raise any issue that isn't on that list somewhere. So I'm waiting for that. Okay, I want you to think about it. But my point is, that list is meant to be comprehensive. It's comprehensive.
Well,
okay. So I think we can find anything we could discuss.
About 150 things that I can judge.
We need to talk. Can we do lunch? We need coffee. We need coffee. I want to see that. We need coffee.
I'm sure some of them are not on the PPA.
We need to have coffee. Okay. And my point is that we can find a way to discuss, to review, to provide feedback, to talk about actionable items, to have a discussion and cover all the images in each month without scores. And I think hopefully in a way that's valuable to the members, in a way that is not threatening and not off-putting, and I'm probably guilty of that in the way I approach things, and I'm trying to rework that. I think that the way we're doing is actually a huge improvement over what we had in the past.
And I think that the numbers I don't think really make any difference. I don't think that, again, I think that when, in the end, we can sort of try to use those and we can think, for beginners, we might rank them a little differently with the numbers. I don't think we can just use so ultimately what we're doing is ranking them. But the discussion helps us talk about what kinds of things could maybe be improved or things that we liked about it particularly so that we can do better critiques. Each of us writes a critique, but after we discuss stuff, then we can go, oh yeah, I didn't notice that part because I was so focused on this, and then we can update those critiques. And I think that's the part that's the most useful to everyone, and no one cares about I mean, we've all gone through American school, so you care about the number, and all of us are disappointed because we're not getting high 90s because everything in here, the number is somewhere. So the number I just don't think makes a difference in this club.
I mean, in this club, the numbers should be totally disregarded. Once they have possibly been used for ranking, they should be disregarded if we want to have them removed from anything that even the viewer can, the creator can see.
I don't even think they need it for ranking.
The numbers help solve ranking in the event of a deadlock. I like McDonald's, number 2 is Jack in the Box, number 3 is Wendy's. He likes Jack in the Box, number 2 is Wendy's, number 3 is McDonald's. He likes Wendy's, number 2 is McDonald's, number 3 is Jack in the Box. No, just those 3. With 3 and 3, we can create a perfect deadlock. 3 judges and 3 images. You can create a perfect deadlock where nobody agrees. And I'm not budging, and he's not judging, and he's not budging.
That's the point is, we don't adopt that position, Verlin. We don't adopt the position of I'm not budging. We adopt the position of I need to hear what you have to say, and I need to reassess my position to understand whether I've arrived at the right position.
And that's what we do in the judges' meeting. I mean,
Yeah.
if we skip that, then
Nobody's being stubborn here. We have a great time talking about stuff.
But even if it happened, like, because at the end, the one time I judged, I think Gary with you, and I don't remember who else, but I don't remember us leaving where we said you have to put your image in exactly this order. I remember us saying, yeah, we generally have these opinions, and then so yeah, I think you can end up, because I think you could end up with, like you're saying, a 3-way tie for first place, right? And then I had thought, well, we could use the scores to tie break, but the more I'm hearing it, maybe it doesn't matter, right? Maybe it's like, they're all just equally, then that's the number and that's what we got, and it's like, hey, that's interesting, right?
And
That's
what
an
we
interesting
did for
result,
a while
right?
was that we would just say, we're giving out the 3 awards, so if there was 1 first place and 2 second places, then we just didn't have a third.
Well, but that's always, I think this is the one I do agree with John of, and I like that. Even here I did it, right? Like we had, in like basic, there were 3 images, we gave out 3 awards, because his point is like, because I think it only wanted me to give out 1. But I'm like, just put all 3 because that's more people that get recognition and you get to talk about it more, right? Like they get to talk about their images and we all like to hear people talk about it. And you can't have everyone, maybe this competition because it was such a low turnout we could have, but most of the time we don't have enough time for everyone to talk about it. But so I would just say, yeah, that's 3 places, you tie for first and then you have 3 people in second and whatever. And, if it gets crazy, we can change it, but.
It's a really good benefit to be a judge, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes
Right.
you think about the pictures and.
It does, yeah.
Well, that's kind of the goal.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why we, as competition coordinators, are always encouraging new people to try judging. because
That sounds rehearsed.
because it is so helpful to you to participate in this at any level. As
Right.
long as you have somebody that can help sort of explain how the stuff works within our club, it's very helpful at all levels to do the judging. And there are a lot of people that are afraid to do it, and after they do it, they like it. And sometimes that means they become the next competition coordinator after a short period of time.
I want to say a special thanks to Lydia for jumping in with both feet so quickly.
That was just the first email I saw.
All right, let's see what the robot overlord said.
Bullied by anybody. I mean, Bill was super nice getting on the phone with me, explaining how it worked, and everybody's been really nice I mean, I feel like people listen to my opinions. We don't always agree, but it's done very constructively and, and I've not once had a problem with anybody.
It's gotten better over the years, but we're trying to make it even more better.
Right.
So we're trying to really improve it every chance we get, to think about ways we can make it better.
Yeah, so self-assessment's a good thing, right? Kind of reviewing what we're doing here, but yeah.
But I'm not that comfortable with us going to ChatGPT, ranking all of our stuff with numbers and giving us, all 45s and stuff, because we're not Ansel
I'm not willing to
Adams.
cede my role to the robot overlords yet.
Robotic overlord?
The robot overlords.
I think that, and by the way, this is the prompt that I gave Chad.
Oh.
And it started off just about here. Disregard anything you've seen before. We're going to use the PPA 12 elements of merit, but we're going to cut it down to the first 5: impact, technical excellence, creativity, composition, storytelling. We have a competition theme. I'm convinced that if we have a theme, we need to try to comply with it, because what we learned on this theme was everybody learned something more about photography because they worked towards that theme. And then to be different, I said score it 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. And the rest of this thing is, okay, we've always used metadata, so you can use metadata. I can't make it scroll like I want it to.
That's a lot.
That's the biggest problem I've ever seen.
But what we'll do is post this where you can see it. And it literally had to go, and I worked with Chad to complete this thing. I had to describe the output format, and here's the use model for it. This is how I expect to work with it. Score it, give me the scores. I get to review your work. I get to have input. Barry, you're just shaking your head.
I'm not doing that.
Proposing to do away with our current system of 3-panel judges and use only ChatGPT?
Absolutely not.
No.
What I would
I
propose,
appreciate that you've done a wonderful job in experimenting, but I'm not sure what we're getting to in terms of tonight.
I think this is a prompt that I want to have Ed put where everybody can get to it. And go check your first view of this against this prompt. Do you?
Does that also mean that we're putting everybody's image into the AI tool?
So do we agree with ChatGPT?
In order to even do
Yes.
this evaluation?
Well, that's what we're waiting to find out.
Yes.
Is that what I have to do?
This most photos.
As I understand the AI
That could be
tools,
entertaining.
what they're given to work with as a user is not what they're trained on.
Ansel Adams show?
Yeah, but it's our images that are out on the internet. Where's the control? Who protects that?
Any great picture from the past.
They're going to gobble them up and train them on someone else.
Oh, yeah.
Clay, are you, is it past your bedtime? No.
Uh-oh, what did I miss?
We need to wrap it up.
We missed that. We were talking.
He said, can we talk about this at the holiday
We've done
party?
in the past where we divided into small groups and we had discussions to talk about the club. We don't necessarily have to have a guest speaker every time to be a.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because it's 9 o'clock.
I propose the 12th of November.
We want to go home.
It's Clay's bedtime. I guess we're going to close the church.
I have one thing really quick. Look at the top of the criteria. It says image sharpness. What do you do with a lens baby?
And why does every
that I know
photo have to be sharp? We have
always has
intentional camera
something
movement.
sharp in his images. If you end up with a totally blurred image, unless that is the clear feature of your image.
Yeah.
We can,
Criteria
Fail. Yeah.
Intentionally camera move.
Go ahead. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for the conversation.
No, I'm thinking about.